Right, hello Year 9. I'm going to talk through how your immune system deals with any pathogens that get inside your body. Now the first thing I want you to do is to pause the video, and you've got some questions to answer just as a recap of what you've been doing recently, and then you can check your answers. Okay, right, so we've said that there's lots of different ways that microbes can enter your body. Your skin is designed to be a continuous cover all over your body, but there are gaps in that skin that can potentially allow microbes in, and each of those gaps has a defence mechanism to stop or to try and prevent the bacteria or the pathogens actually getting into your body. Okay, so we talked about some different lines of defence. So your skin is waterproof, it covers the majority of your body, and it also insulates your body, and it's there to prevent bacteria getting in. Now if you cut yourself, which I'll talk about in a second, then it will repair itself to prevent bacteria getting in through that gap. You've also got these enzymes called lysozymes, which are present in your tears, so that will prevent pathogens getting into your eyes, and the lysozymes will actually digest the cell wall of the bacteria so that it will prevent it from causing any damage. In your respiratory system, you've got these cilia, these tiny hairs, and the mucus that trap pathogens, and then the cilia will wave in order to waft those pathogens back out so they don't get into your lungs. And then the other potential opening is when you've eaten food that contains or has bacteria on it or pathogens on it. Your stomach contains acid. It's hydrochloric acid, it's very, very strong acid, and that will kill off any pathogens that have got into your body that way. So we've got lots of first lines of defence. So this is ultimately to try and prevent bacteria and pathogens getting into your actual internal part of your body. If they do, and sometimes they can do, then your body has to deal with it. Okay, so if, for example, you cut your finger and you create a gap in your skin, then your body will address that so that bacteria can't get in. So if you've cut your finger, what will happen is that the platelets, you've done platelets as part of the blood in Unit 2, these tiny, tiny sections, these platelets will fill in the gap and they produce these fibres. And the fibres act a little bit like scaffolding, and what they do is they will trap red blood cells, and the red blood cells actually form the scab. So when the red blood cells dry, that's what forms the scab, and then underneath there the white blood cells actually start to defend yourself from any pathogens getting in, and then your skin will repair itself underneath. Okay, so like we said, sometimes pathogens can get past all those barriers and they will get into your bloodstream, and where they can cause all sorts of problems. So this is where your second line of defence comes into action, and your second line of defence is your immune system, and it will activate to try and prevent that pathogen from harming your body. Okay, so the first thing that happens, really, it's your white blood cells that are part of your immune system. If you look at a blood smear, so here you can see lots and lots of red blood cells. The white blood cells, they're much, much bigger, and there's much less of them, okay, but they will become activated if you get pathogens in your body, and they do that in different ways. So first of all, they might actually digest and eat the microbe. They can also produce antibodies which will help clear up pathogens in your body, and they can also produce antitoxins which will neutralise the chemicals being produced by those bacteria, so that they're not going to make you ill. Okay, so in terms of the antitoxins, this is one thing that you can do. So you've got your little bacteria here that's producing a chemical that is poisonous to you, so it's producing a toxin. Your white blood cell, what it will do is it will produce an antitoxin which neutralises that, so it makes it no longer harmful, and that means that it's not going to make you sick. Okay, so that's one way that white blood cells can protect your body. Now secondly, all cells in your body have markers on them called antigens, and everybody's has individual, a bit like your fingerprint. Bacteria and pathogens also have antigens on their surface, but if they get into your body will recognise them as not being yours. So in this case, but a particular bacteria might have a little square marker on it, okay? If that gets into your body and it doesn't match the markers that are in your body recognises it and actually starts to fight it off. The same way that the markers on this one's a little triangle shape on this virus, okay, your body will recognise that it doesn't belong to you and will try and get rid of it. Okay, so one of the things that your white blood cells will do is that they will form antibodies. Okay, so what they will do is they will create, so you've got your antigens on the cells and they will create antibodies, and they will, what the antibodies will do is will cause the pathogens to clump together. Okay, so what they will do is they will join onto the pathogen and they will cause those pathogens to actually clump together. Okay, so that's what the lymphocytes do. This is this one particular type of white blood cell. The lymphocytes produce antibodies which will clump the pathogens together. Then what happens is that the phagocytes, which are a different type of white blood cell, so this is where the pathogens have all been clumped together, so the antigens have caused them to clump together. The second process to that is a second white blood cell called a phagocyte. Okay, now what phagocytes do is they're a bit like the cleanup crew, and they come along and they will actually surround and digest the pathogens that have been clumped together. So if you just follow along this will help you with the work that you're going to do for me. If you can see that this would be a bacteria or a pathogen, okay, it's been stamped by the lymphocytes. So the lymphocytes have said it doesn't belong in your body, so it's a bit like they've wrapped it all up in crime scene tape, so they're a bit like the police force. And then the phagocytes come along and they clear everything up. Okay, so the phagocytes can change shape, they wrap themselves around the bacteria, completely enclosing it, and then they produce enzymes. So you can see these little red bits here, and I'll show you on an animation in a second. They will actually join with that sort of bubble. They produce these enzymes into the bubble that digests the bacteria, and then they can release it because it's no longer harmful. Okay, so I've got a little animation to show you about that idea. So again, we've got this idea of the bacteria. It's got its markers on it, it's got its antigens. Okay, in this case the white blood cell says no, you don't belong here, so it starts to produce these antibodies which has wrapped it around. So this will cause them all to be recognised. So these are the lymphocytes. These are police force white blood cells. So they've caused it to lump together. What happens next is that we have phagocytosis. So phagocytosis, it sounds really technical, but these are the cleanup crew. Okay, so this is the second type of white blood cell, and what they do is, again, we've got our bacteria that doesn't belong there. Okay, you can recognise it's a bacteria because it's got no nucleus. Your phagocyte, your white blood cell, will recognise it because it will have been marked by the lymphocytes, and it will come along, like I showed you, it wraps itself all around it, completely encloses it in this bubble. It will then produce enzymes, okay, called lysozymes, that will actually digest that bacteria. So it's put all of the enzymes into that bubble and it will digest the bacteria and make it harmless. Okay, so once it's all been digested and been destroyed, then it can be got rid of. Okay, so that's the second part of our cleanup. So the lymphocytes mark the pathogens and say they don't belong here, they shouldn't be here, and then the phagocytes come along and they clean everything up and destroy the bacteria. Okay, now I've put the PowerPoint onto class charts. You have got a task to do on there, and then also on the PowerPoint you've got a little quiz to work through, and I will give you the answers tomorrow. Okay, thank you.